Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm going to give everyone a minute or so to hop on in. Welcome to our event today about how to partner with travel brands and land collaborations. First thing, hello, my name is Rebecca. It's so nice to see you all here. I'm the director of virtual events at Wonderful, and I'm also the content creator behind Becca the Explorer. I am tuning in from Dallas, Fort Worth, and it's sunny. It's a beautiful day here. Drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. Let me know if you've ever partnered with a travel brand before. Let me know if you're looking to land your first collaboration. Just let us know where you're at in the process, and we'd love to see where you guys are all tuning in from as well. Let's see. Hello. So excited to have you all here. Woot. Now, if you haven't heard of Wonderful before, welcome. We're thousands of women travelers and travel content creators based all around the world, and our goal is to help make travel better for women worldwide. You can catch us in over 50 cities where we're regularly hosting local events, and we have an enormous online network so you can tap into the sisterhood wherever you are during your world travels. Because Wonderful itself started as a blog in 2009, we spend a lot of time helping content creators hone the tools of their own craft, and we help businesses tell meaningful stories using our creator network. You might have heard of WITS, our Travel Creator Summit, which is a not to miss, and it brings hundreds of talented creators and industry marketers together every year. We're all about opening up the world and lifting barriers for women, which is why we love hosting free, open, online events just like this one to help you grow. Now, I'm so excited to introduce our speaker today, Alexis Tinsley. She is a travel marketing strategist and influencer coach. With over 5 years of experience, Tinsley has managed various campaigns, helping travel brands work with influencers and coaching influencers on how to work with travel brands. Her clients have landed their first hotel collaborations, been invited on press trips by tourism boards, paid to stay at hotels, and more. So let me welcome Tinsley to the stage.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here.
Welcome. I know I'm so excited for this conversation. I see a bunch of people tuning in. We have people from Washington,
Welcome.
from Tucson, New Jersey. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today, Tinsley. I know I'm excited. The audience is ecstatic. We can't wait to jump into this.
Awesome. Let's do it. Alrighty, so before we get started, I just love to kick off things by saying, kind reminder, turn off any distractions, close all those tabs, put your phone on D&D, close the door, put your AirPods in. I'm going to give you about 35 to 40 minutes of high value content. So if you commit to this, it will make a huge difference for you. So quick note on Q&A, we're going to do a Q&A towards the end. I'll stop a few times throughout the presentation in case you have any questions. Just want to be sure that you are clear as we move through so that you're not left at the end all confused. So don't worry, I got you, boo. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to email me or DM me with any questions that you may have about this workshop. One thing that I do want to throw in the chat as we are working through is a worksheet. But before that, just want to throw out, feel free to share this and tag us on Instagram. You can tag me at Trouble with Tinsley, Wonderful at Wonderful Creators. Let your followers and community know how excited you are to level up your knowledge about travel brands, and you look forward to sharing a lot more travels with them in the coming months. So if any of these slides resonate with you, feel free to take a quick photo and share it with us on Instagram. So I am going to drop the link to the worksheet, and Rebecca will as well. And this worksheet will just be a great way to just guide you along. Feel free to fill in as you go, or you can just watch back the replay, or you can, that way that you can just go ahead and just listen as we go on. So, this is all about how to partner with travel brands and land more collaborations. But to kick things off, just want to give you a background about me. I am Tinsley. I'm a travel marketing strategist, influencer coach, content creator, and digital nomad. So, for the past 6 years, I've worked in the travel and tourism industry in 3 different ways. I've worked with travel brands myself as a creator. I've managed travel brand partnerships as a strategist, so helping travel brands work with influencers. And I've helped influencers work with travel brands as a coach. So, some travel campaigns that I have worked on include Montage Hotels and Resorts, Tradewind Aviation, Visit Panama, and the New York State Division of Tourism, just to name a few. As Rebecca mentioned, some amazing wins that my influencer clients have achieved include landing their first hotel collaboration, being invited on press trips by tourism boards, and getting paid to stay at hotels. So when I first started out as a travel blogger, I felt like a little fish in a big pond. It just seemed like all the big time creators with thousands and thousands of followers, the 4K drone footage, the tons of views on their blog, all of them, it just seemed like they were the only ones that landed travel brand partnerships. So even though I wasn't sure if I could reach success as a travel blogger, I just kept going. And with time, I ended up landing my first paid brand partnership. And a month later, I landed my first hotel collaboration during the pandemic. So the pandemic really opened my eyes to realize that travel brands were leaning more on influencers now more than ever. And with this, I decided to just take my skill set to the brand side and I started managing influencer marketing campaigns. So, as someone who works on both sides of travel campaigns as an influencer and creator, um, and also on the brand side, I'm on a mission to show more creators like you how you can get paid to travel the world by working with brands. So, just a few wins that I want to share with you. A client of mine loved how much she's learned from me from the industry. She said Tinsley has helped me a lot with developing my online brand and starting to pitch to brands as a creator. Another one, she said throughout her time in my program, the Well Travel Creator Academy, she has landed her first paid partnership. Another one, she landed a partnership with an Airbnb, as well as another one of my students, she landed a article in a top travel publication, and she also got paid to stay at a luxury hotel. So if you're interested in results just like that, today you will learn the 3 different parts that I'm going to walk you through. The first one is going to be all about your brand and just knowing who you are as a brand. Rather you identify yourself as an influencer, creator, blogger, the list goes on. You yourself, it's important to have clarity around your own brand. So, your role is the first part. So, your role is a title that you go by when you create content, when you work with brands. So, examples of a role could be a blogger, an influencer, a photographer. In order to break into the industry while also creating content the way that you love to, I always recommend choosing 1 to 2 roles to get started. And it's important to have a role because this indicates to your audience, your brand, and even yourself, the kind of content that can be expected from you. So, choose a role that you feel confident in, that you feel confident in doing so when you're just starting out pitching to brands. A lot of times I have creators that say, oh well, I'm going to pitch to a brand as a photographer, but when it comes down to it, and say they land that partnership, they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I can actually deliver that kind of content to the brand. So this is why I always recommend in the beginning, feel confident in the role that you choose. Choose a role that you know that you'll be able to deliver that type of content from. And then, of course, over time you will evolve and you'll learn photography. You will build your blog. You will grow your audience on Instagram. So, just a couple things. I don't recommend waiting, for example, until you get your blog up and running, or as I mentioned, nailing down photography to start pitching to brands. This is an excuse that a lot of creators tend to have. They say, oh, well, I'm just going to wait until my blog reaches I don't know, 10 monthly viewers, or I'm going to wait until like I have the best perfectly edited photos in Lightroom before I start pitching to brands. Like, no, pitch to brands now. You will grow and evolve over time. Like, it's part of the process. So don't stress over which role you choose now. Trust your intuition. Choose which one comes to mind first. And also, again, don't stress over the one that you choose now, because you will grow and evolve. I put here an example. I first started off as a blogger, as I mentioned. Then I ended up being an influencer, then a writer, and now I just call myself a content creator. So that just goes to show that what you choose right now is not the end all be all. You will grow and evolve over time. So just wanted to share some examples of roles with you as you are deciding which one is the best fit for you. So the influencer, we all know about it. That's a person that posts content on their social media and influences their audience to take action. And then we have a content creator or UGC creator. So this is someone who creates content for the brand's social media platform. So you're not necessarily creating content and posting on your social media. That will be an influencer, but you're creating content such as, I don't know, Instagram Reels, YouTube videos for the brand to use on their own social media channels. A blogger is another one. We all know what a vlogger is. A journalist or a writer is also one that I tend to have a lot of students as well that are writers. So this is someone who creates content for news publications. This could be Travel and Leisure, CNN, the list goes on. And then also a photographer or videographer. So I gave you a key here. And just based off of my experience of course, working on travel brands myself and just seeing, okay, which ones are my clients and also just other clients in the industry more likely to pay creators for. So which ones are like the easiest to make money? Because of course, all of our goals, if you haven't done this already, is to be full-time as a travel creator, or just full-time as a creator that is working with travel brands, and rather that's other brands. So the blue stars are those that I personally feel are the easiest to make income in. So, right, being a writer, being a photographer, videographer, a UGC creator for sure, or an influencer. And then I put green stars next to the ones that I would say are the fastest to start. So, say you are an absolute beginner and you're like, I don't know which one to go with first. The ones with the green stars, I would recommend considering, because it doesn't take you too long to get your feet off the ground with those. So these are the 6 roles, and heading into your interests. So when you're developing your brand, of course, it's great to have your role down. The next part I recommend are your interests. So your interest is a category of content you create when you're working with brands. So this may be a little controversial, so stick with me. But I know there's a lot about like, should I have a niche or should I not have a niche? And there's people that believe you shouldn't have a niche, and there's people that believe that you should have a niche. I personally see both sides. I believe that having a niche is great because it easily identifies you, especially being on the brand side. It's great to go on an influencer's account and know if, for example, say we're doing like a wellness campaign for a hotel. If the influencer doesn't cover wellness, it's easy for us to see, okay, they're not a good fit for this campaign. Or if they do cover wellness, it's easy for us to see that. But say you don't have a niche and you're like posting about a little bit of everything, we're just like, okay, not a good fit, because we can't even figure out if you are a good fit. So that's a no. So that's why I always recommend, like, you don't have to pick one thing that you focus all your content on, but have around 2 to 4 different things that you always create content around. So I like to call these interests. I don't call them niches, because I know that, again, that could be a little controversial. But as far as interests, I recommend picking between 2 to 4. Don't choose too many options. As I mentioned, too many options leads to indecision, more so on the brand side. We're just like, all right, too many things are going on in this creator's account. Next. So just pick about 2 to 4. And when it comes to working with travel brands, I would say interest is what makes you stand out a lot. So really just going back to that example of the wellness creator that also creates travel content and maybe creates fashion too. Like, you don't find a lot of people that are doing all those things all in one. And say they do family content too. So having those interests really is what makes you stand out. And I also put here as an example, anyone can create travel content, but not everyone can create travel content and pet friendly content. There's tons of hotels that have robust pet friendly offerings. I've seen dog spas, I've seen like gourmet dog treats, like I've seen some hotels where like they will literally bring like fake grass to your room and let your dog like eliminate on it. It's it goes like you will be surprised on the different things that you'll see. But if you have a blog, if you have a dog and you are a creator, then that will be a perfect collaboration opportunity for you. So that just goes to show again the importance of having just a few interests that you focus all of your content around. So I put here some examples of what that could be: fashion, music, art, and film. Even millennial and Gen Z, like there's some people that really just focus on those type of trends. Like, what do millennials love more? What does Gen Z love more? Family and parenthood, of course. In the travel space, we love those family creators. Animals and wildlife, nature and outdoors, luxury and budget. You'll probably see that a lot. Agriculture, pet friendly, as I mentioned, sustainability and eco friendly, which is something that is really, really huge in the travel industry. Culinary, of course, wellness, faith and religion, medical, sports, and anything that falls really underneath inclusivity. So rather that's gender, LGBTQIA plus, ethnicity, race, or accessibility. So these are all just examples of interests that you can pick and choose from. I'm sure there's a lot more, but just wanted to lay out the main ones here for you to see. And then the final part of building your brand is your audience. So this is a type of people you create content for, more specifically when you're working with brands. So some people believe that this doesn't matter. Like, I've heard it all the time. People say, oh, well, the right audience will gravitate towards you based off of the type of content that you create. And while that's true, on the brand side, literally the first thing that we look at when we find a creator, or if we're looking for creators for a campaign, press trip, partnership opportunity, the list goes on. The first thing that we look at is, okay, what kind of audience do they have? Because at the end of the day, of course, we want to work with you as a creator, but we want to work with you as a creator because we want to get in front of your audience. Whatever product or service that we're selling, we want to put that in front of your audience. So this is why the audience part is so important, and it's great for you to identify that from the beginning so that you can put this in your media kit and brands are able to easily identify, okay, is this a great fit or not. So I put here, when choosing an audience, I recommend choosing really one. If you decide to do two, it's fine, but I think one is a good amount. And then, as an example, if you're a blogger and say like your blog focuses on culinary and you primarily highlight upscale dining experiences. So as far as an audience, we can predict that your content really caters to luxury travelers. So, when it comes to working with travel brands, a luxury culinary destination such as France, Greece, or Italy, like those are destinations that all the luxury travelers love to go to and just eat up all the good foods that they have to offer. That will make sense for you when it comes to travel brand partnerships, like pitch to these destinations or pitch to restaurants and hotels in those destinations, because that is what your audience will be most likely to be interested in. So just to give you some examples of different audiences based off of the interests that I just gave you. So fashion, you can guess fashionistas, beauty lovers, music, art, or film fanatics, of course, millennial Gen Z, parents, wildlife enthusiasts, naturalists, luxury or budget travelers, farmers, planters, the list goes on, pet lovers, environmentalists, foodies, wellness enthusiasts, believers, doctors and nurses, athletes, and then any advocates of anything that's in regards to inclusivity. So those are examples when it comes to audience. So, just to review as we are going through, your brand is going to be your role, your interest, and your audience. Now, let's talk about the actual brand, the travel brand. So, of course, the brand is the company that you're partnering with. One thing that I really want to drive home is the fact that when you are partnering with a brand as an influencer, blogger, creator, you are a business yourself. So it's very important to show up and act like one. Because if not, especially I would say if you plan on partnering with more brands, I don't want to just say the travel space, like this could be any industry, but if you plan on partnering with more brands in that industry, things get around very quick. And then next thing you know it, you're not able to land partnerships with several brands because they've all spoken about you amongst each other. So always show up as a business. When you are partnering with a brand, it's a B2B type relationship, is business to business. You as a creator, um, you are a business. So remember to act like one. And the reason why I wanted to go over your brand first is because it's important to know who you are as a brand before you pitch to a brand. I laugh because you would be surprised on the number of creators that send pitches more so specific to travel brands, and it's very obvious that they don't really know who they are as a brand. Like, they don't know who they're serving, they don't know like what their interests are. Like, they're a little bit all over the place. So on the brand side, again, I've just received a lot of pitches from creators who clearly don't know who they are, and it doesn't convince me that they're a good fit for the partnership. So just highly recommend going back, choose your role, choose your interest, choose your audience. And then a common question that I get is, how do I find the brand? And more specifically, how do I find the contact for a brand? So look on their website first. You will be surprised, especially tourism boards. Their contact, their email, even their phone numbers are on the website. So I recommend always looking on their website first before you go down a rabbit hole of like Google searches. Usually it's on the website. If it's not, then we'll look into some other options. But while you're on the website, I recommend looking under all tabs. Like, scan that website from top to bottom. You will likely find it if they have like a tab that's labeled team, staff, or like press or press room or contact. Like, those are usually the tabs that you'll find that kind of information under. But just scan them all. It might be hiding somewhere. And if you come across a directory, because like some brands have directories like tour operators and tourism boards often do, you can reach out to the person who either works in their social media, public relations, or communications department. Usually those are the departments where they handle influencer relations. Unless they have a title that just says influencer marketing manager, then hey, you found who you're looking for. But if they don't have that specific title, I recommend going to the person that works within social media, public relations, or communications. So if you can't find anything on their website, check their social media. So LinkedIn and Twitter are both great places to look. Now that Threads has come out, Threads could be an option as well. There are third-party sites that you can look on, such as like Rocket Reach, Hunter, IO, Viola Norbert. You can Google those, but they're just basically third-party sites where you can look up brand directories. And some of them, they'll give you like, I don't know, like 3 free searches, and they'll let you see the email addresses for these contacts. So that's another thing that you can do if the website's not working or social media is not working. If those don't work, I always say, like, even before you go to third party sites, I always say, like, if it's a hotel, for example, just give them a call. Ask them, hey, I'm trying to get in contact with the person who handles your influencer relations. Is there a way that you can provide me with that information? And most of the time, the concierge or the people that work at the front desk are more than happy to do so. So just give them a call. It literally could be less than a minute call, and it saves you so much time when you're just trying to look for this type of information. So I want to introduce you to the brands. So of course, I feel like in the travel space, a lot of people know, okay, travel brands. All right, hotels, airlines, tourism boards. But a lot of people also don't take into consideration cruise lines, tour operators, vacation rentals. Some other ones include car rentals, ride shares, trains, buses, and now a little bit getting more into like hospitality, like recreation. So that could be like museums, spas, theaters, movies, zoos, bowling alleys, events. So that could be festivals, concerts, sports games, trade shows or conferences, and also restaurants. So anything that falls within like restaurants, bars, or cafes, the list goes on. And the reason why I wanted to include hospitality brands in here as well is because a lot of the times we are aiming to work with travel brands because we have an upcoming trip going. So with that being said, you still got to eat, you still got to get around. You likely want to visit like their top attractions like museums and stuff. So when you are pitching, I recommend like still taking that into consideration, and why not send a pitch to that museum? Why not send a pitch to that restaurant? You will be surprised by other brands within hospitality that will be happy to work with you. So, those are the top travel brands. When it comes to a collaboration idea, I always recommend pitching to a brand with an idea already developed. Don't make the brand think for you, because most of the time if they really want to work with you, then they'll work with you. Let me just put it that way. But if you're reaching out to them, it's kind of like calling someone on the phone and saying, "Okay, why did you call?" But it's like, "But you called me." So when you reach out to brands, it's always great to have a purpose, meaning have that collaboration idea, and let that collaboration idea be a creative way you want to showcase the brand to a specific audience. I put a specific audience here because it really just depends on if you're working with them as an influencer, then of course it'll be your audience. But if you're working with them as a UGC creator, then it will be their audience. So those are, I would say, definitely come up with a collaboration idea before you reach out to them. And just for an example, say if you're staying at if you're looking to stay at a hotel in LA and you know that they have like a massive art collection, um, and they host like several art exhibitions throughout the year, a creative angle that you can really go about pitching this brand is saying, "Hey, I would love to make a TikTok video about how this hotel basically lets you skip the museum line and view all of the best art masterpieces just by stepping foot in your lobby." Like, that is an awesome collaboration idea. And more so because that type of pitch will position the hotel itself as the best place in LA to see work composed by world renowned artists. So, I know that that seems very high level, but there is a strategy behind your collaboration idea, and there always should be. It's not best to think, "Oh, just because you love this hotel spa, I'm going to pitch them." No, think a little bit beyond that. In what way can you pitch them? In what way can you position them in a creative way, again, that showcases this brand to a specific audience? I put down here a pro tip. The best way to come up with a collab idea, I say hands down, is to look on the brand's website or just look at their latest news that they're posting on social media. If you see that they are posting a lot about like a new restaurant that they just opened, pitch about that new restaurant. It just goes to show that they are obviously trying to create more buzz around that new restaurant. So collaborating with you would contribute towards that. So you can almost like predict that they would say yes. So think about that when it comes to coming up with your collaboration ideas. Go on their website, look at the latest news, look at what they're promoting, look on their social media. That is usually the easiest way to come up with a collab idea. Now, here are some examples just based off of the travel brands. If it's a hotel, a collab idea could just be that they just opened a new rooftop bar. If it's a tourism board, this destination wants to attract more tourism to their nature spots. So that could be a collaboration idea. If it's an airline, say that they just came out with a new route that has direct flights to Spain. That's a collaboration idea. Cruise lines, they just launched a new route to the Greek islands. Tour operators, an operator wants more people to book their Machu Picchu tour. A vacation rental, an Airbnb with bad reviews wants to get more bookings. So collaborating with you could help that. A couple other brands leaning more so into hospitality is a rideshare company. Say they just launched a new safety feature. That could be an idea that you pitch them for. A train company now offers onboard 5-star dining. That sounds right up anyone's alley. Definitely pitch that. A bus company who now has a baby changing station in their bathrooms, perfect for the family type creator. A recreation, so a museum, for example, that wants to sell more tickets on weekdays. That could be a great way that you collaborate with them, really just promoting, like, hey, this museum's awesome, even on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Like most days that people aren't really out looking for museums to explore. As far as events, it can be a music festival. So, say this music festival wants to sell out their VIP tickets in 30 days. Influencer marketing is a wonderful way that they can do that. Or restaurants. Say if a cafe notices that everyone keeps coming in and just buying coffee, but they want them to add a pastry to their order. Well, you can go there and create content all around how awesome it is to not only have a delicious coffee from this brand, but a pastry to go with it. So those are just some examples on different ways that you can come up with a collaboration idea. Now let's move on to the actual pitch part. So the pitch can be presented in several ways, and this could go very, very high level, but just for the sake of this workshop, I just want to focus on the email part because that is the easiest way to get started. I highly recommend that an email pitch stays between 250 to 300 words. Anything beyond that, in my opinion, is just unnecessary. I feel as though you can really let the brand know who you are, your collaboration idea, in 250 words, and they will be so happy to see that too. So don't feel like you need to tell the brand all your ideas in your initial pitch. Let them gauge interest first, because also at the end of the day, as I mentioned, you're a business. So you want to ensure that you are spending your time on activities that move the needle forward. So don't sit here and write 1,000-word pitch to a brand if they could possibly tell you no. Let it be short. If they gauge interest, then go back to them and let them know all the details. And if we're talking about a paid partnership, I also recommend sending over your collaboration idea first. If they gauge interest, then we can talk about rates and compensation. Another thing, your pitch should always be about how you can help the brand, not about how the brand can help you, as that part is very obvious to see. When you are pitching to brands, you really want to think of yourself as a person that is on their marketing team and really wanting to help them reach their marketing goals. So think about, as I mentioned, collaboration ideas that aid towards that, not necessarily about how, oh my gosh, like this brand could literally give me a free trip to like my dream destination. Like, again, make sure that you are looking out for the brand's best interest as well. As far as subject lines, I recommend keeping it simple. Let your subject line be the hotel's name, for an example, times your name, or if you want to throw in the representative's name, say if you find their name and her name is Nicole, for example, you can put, hey Nicole, the hotel's name, and times your name. I like that little personal touch. I think it's a great way to grab their attention. But always keep the subject line very, very not creative. You want them to obviously be able to see what it's about just by like skimming through their inbox. When it comes to font size, this is very important. I just think this overall helps you out a lot when it comes to showing up as a professional. Make sure that you're using a font size that is readable, a font size that it's not too big. I recommend using Arial size 10, Calibri size 11, or Times New Roman size 11 as well. Like those are like the top ones that are best. Don't feel like you need to get super creative and use all these cursive fonts, because at the end of the day, they probably won't be able to read it. And if they're not able to read it, sometimes they don't even respond. So make it easy for them. Another thing that I mentioned is I personally don't recommend you using any attachments when it comes to your pitches to brands. They don't like attachments very much. I don't want to speak for all of them, but like in general, like attachments, one, it can affect the way that the email gets delivered. Another thing that I see people do is they insert like their media kit within, like they embed it, shall I say, into the body of the email. I also don't recommend that because it can allow it to show up too small, or it can show up too big on the brand side. Even if you try to like, resize it, like it still doesn't show up like in the best way that it could. So I always recommend just using like an external folder like Google Drive and just like hyperlinking your media kit or any other resources off to that. Now let's talk about the anatomy of a pitch. So the anatomy of a pitch should be these 5 parts: your introduction, your reasoning, your idea, your stats, and your outro. So just to go a little bit further into what that will look like, your introduction will be, of course, your name. Let us know who you are. You'll be surprised by a lot of people just send pitches and they don't even mention their name. We're like, wait, who are you again? So mention your name, mention your role as we just went over, and also mention your location. A lot of people leave this out, and just know that in the travel space, we need to know your location, because say if we want to provide you with flight support, we don't know where you're based. So instead of us having to do the whole back and forth, hey, where are you based, what's your local airport, just tell us up front. Let us know your location. And I recommend doing this within 1 to 2 sentences. Like, this could really be one sentence, it doesn't have to be that long. The next part will be your reasoning. So say, well, I feel like the best way to put it is that your reasoning will either be one or two things. It'll be that because you have an upcoming trip coming, about, and that's the reason why you're pitching to them, or it's because you live nearby, in which we love when creators support local travel brands. So those are really the only two reasons that I can think off the top of my head that you'll be pitching to a travel brand. So within your reasoning part, I recommend mentioning that, and also mentioning why you chose the brand. The brand will love to hear this. So we could say something like, I've been staying at your hotels or supporting your hotels for years, and this would just be like a dream partnership opportunity for me. Let them know that maybe they're doing a current activation that really is of interest to you. They would love to hear something like that. So you can do this within 1 to 2 sentences. Again, don't make it very long. The third part will be your idea. So this is your collab idea, in which we just discussed, and really going into how that idea will help the brand. Remember, you're on their marketing team. You want to help them reach their marketing goals. Let them know how this could potentially reach their marketing goals. So this could be done within 2 to 3 sentences. And then for your stats, this is mainly if you are pitching to them as an influencer. So like, you want to create content on their social media platform, then I recommend sharing your number of followers. I don't know, your reels views or your story views, if it's like an impressive number and you really want to share that. And also let them know how it relates back to their brand. So say, I don't know, you're based in Virginia and you want to share, hey, I have I don't know, 5,000 followers, and like 90% of them are based in Virginia. Your restaurant is based in Virginia. Just this goes to show that potentially, I don't know what 90% of 5,000 is. We're not going to do the math here, but basically that just goes to tell the brand that potentially 5,000 people could show up at your restaurant, and they will want to hear that. So not on one day, of course, they wouldn't want to hear that, but they would want to hear that partnering with you will help drive traffic. So I recommend doing that for the stats part if you're pitching to them as an influencer. If not, you can just leave this part out, or unless you want to talk about past brands that you've created UGC content for. And then the last part will be your outro. So you can share the link to your portfolio, share the link to your media kit. Again, hyperlink this, don't attach it. And then you'll just sign off. So I really broke down the sentences because a lot of people tell me, I don't know how this could be 250 to 300 words. Well, this is what it will look like if you stick to the 1 to 2 sentences, the 2 to 3 sentences. So that's your pitch. I also want to talk about deliverables. So a deliverable is the collection of content that an influencer creates to deliver to a brand when in partnership. So in the travel industry, more particularly, your deliverables are determined based on the cost of providing you with a complimentary experience. This is where a lot of people tend to confuse travel brands with other brands. So say you're partnering with Target and they send you, I don't know, $50 worth of free clothes, and you're like, oh, well, I'll just create like a couple Instagram stories for them. Okay, then those couple Instagram stories may be worth $50 worth of product. But if you're pitching to a luxury hotel, a couple slides on Instagram is not going to be enough to cover a complimentary experience for you. Like, your stay could be up to $1,000 per night. So I recommend creating deliverables that equal to that amount. And on the brand side, this is really how we choose those deliverables for you. We think, okay, so what is it equal to if they the total cost, for example, their hotel for the night. And I gave some examples here. So for an airline, say you pitch an airline, you're trying to secure 2 free tickets for you and your friend. The airline will likely ask you to create deliverables that are equal to the amount of 2 plane tickets. So um say your plane tickets are $400 each, this equals to $800. So this could be like a reel and maybe a couple stories. So expect that, and even when you're pitching to travel brands and you are proposing deliverables, keep that in mind. Same thing with the hotel. Say you are pitching to a hotel, they're going to ask you for deliverables that equal potentially 2 to 3 free nights. So just always keep that in mind. Also, when it comes to over delivering, and this goes across all industries, I recommend just being very careful. Just within my actually yesterday during a coaching session that I had with my students, we were talking about how partnering with brands and really over delivering, like over delivering, they will expect that from you every single time that they want to partner with you. So I put here an example. Say if you're working with a hotel and they ask you to just create an Instagram reel and a few stories, but while you're there, you just take a couple of photos like while you're in their suite. Then it makes sense to over deliver with those couple of photos. But don't sit here and like over deliver with like a 10-minute YouTube video. Like you literally just went out of your way, and like as a creator, it at the end of the day, it's not worth your time. Of course, on the brand side, we'll be like, oh, this is awesome. Like she really over delivered. But you have to keep in mind, like at the end of the day, like if you want to partner with us again, we're likely going to expect that from you. So be careful when you over deliver, but it's always awesome to over deliver if you feel aligned with that. Some examples of deliverables I put here, of course, short form video, carousels, any stories across any platforms, rather that's Instagram, TikTok has stories now, I believe, and YouTube as well. Um, Blog articles, photography, drone footage, of course, super big in the travel industry. We love us some drone footage. But here's some even more deliverables that people don't tend to overlook, like email newsletters. Hello, we love email. Isn't that how you signed up for this workshop? So if you have an email list, you can still pitch that to a brand. YouTube videos, of course, as I mentioned, Pinterest pins, um, podcast episodes, even just really touching quickly on the podcast episodes and the YouTube videos that can be dedicated or mentioned. So by that I mean the entire YouTube video can be just about this brand, or it can just be like a little snippet of the YouTube video that is addressing the brand. It can be videography, of course, or even Facebook groups. Like for certain demographics, Facebook groups makes the most sense for some of these brands. So those are the deliverables that I often see within the travel industry. And really, just to wrap this up, I want to talk about negotiation as we are getting into paid partnerships. So when determining your prices, I highly recommend, just on the creator side, factor in how long it takes you to truly deliver that piece of content. And I mean like truly deliver, from like creating the Instagram reel, editing the reel, posting the reel, engaging with the comments that are on the reel. It takes time. So when you are just giving you like your quotes to these brands, take those things into consideration. There's no one size fits all formula. But your pricing can really just vary depending on what partnership. So always keep that in mind. I recommend having a starter point. So like instead of saying like, oh, my Instagram reels are $500, you can say, no, my Instagram reels start at $500, which means, honey, that is the minimum. And it could increase from there. So I would say, in my experience on the brand side, we'd love to know your rates up front. I noticed that a lot of influencers like to tiptoe around this, and I get it. You want to leave that room for negotiation. So that's why I just recommend let us know it starts at $500, so that way we have an idea and we don't have to continue this whole back and forth and end up wasting each other's time. So mention it starts at this. And then when negotiating with brands, I just put some negotiation tips on here. Always ask them what their budget is first. So, say if you're really trying to turn this travel partnership into a paid one, go back to them and say, "Hey, what's your budget?" Like, don't mention any numbers yet. Like, just ask them what is their budget. They come back to you and let you know what their budget is, or some brands like to tiptoe around this too. They will say, "Our budget is limited," or they'll say, "We have a budget, but let us know like what you're thinking." So they'll put the ball back in your court. If this happens, then I recommend just like throwing out a number that is not your minimum. Really just throw it out there. So say if you usually charge $200 for Instagram Reel, throw out 1,000. See what they say. If the brand pushes back, then okay, go down a little bit. Go down to 800, go down to 750, but the goal is to not go below 200. We do not want to devalue ourselves. So clearly our time for it takes time to create this content, and you want to ensure that you're being compensated for that. But also, when you're negotiating, start up high, 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 and just wait to see what if you and the brand can really land at a number that feels aligned for you and also feels aligned for them. Another thing I want to mention, because this is very common in the travel industry, is affiliate programs. So very common, travel brands love to partner with creators and just like have them a part of their affiliate program. I know a lot of creators like roll their eyes when it comes to this. They're like, "Oh, I don't want to be an affiliate. I just want to get paid for upfront for the content that I'm creating." Now, some programs I actually recommend taking on. Like if you're a budget traveler and like a hotel wants not a hotel, a hostel wants to partner with you, and like almost all of your followers are interested in staying at hostels and they do stay at hostels, that could be worth your time. So like just to give you an idea of what an affiliate program could look like, say you're a travel influencer, you are staying at a hotel on a sponsored basis. Of course, like I recommend not opting in for an affiliate program if this hotel is making you pay out of pocket for your stay. Like, no. If it's completely sponsored, like completely complimentary, then okay, then we can consider affiliate. The hotel will give you an affiliate code or an affiliate link that you can share with your followers, and it'll give them like I don't know 10% off their stay. The percentage really just depends on what the hotel would like to give you, and then based off of how much their total cost for staying at that hotel is. So I put $900 here. The hotel will give you a percentage of that sale. I wish I can give you a specific percentage. Again, it really just depends on the travel brand, but this is something that's very common within the space. Affiliate programs, very popular amongst hotels, airlines, and tour operators because it is a major goal for them to drive direct bookings. And just to go into further detail, bookings, it's basically where a customer is booking a hotel directly through the hotel's website and not going through like Expedia, Kayak, Priceline, Trivago, Hopper. The list really goes on. We all love our third-party platforms, but like on the brand side, of course, I feel like all travel brands' goals will always be direct bookings, direct bookings, direct bookings. And through influencer marketing, brands can generate direct bookings. So this is something that is worth bringing up as you're negotiating with these travel brands. Like mention, like, hey, like I could help you get more direct bookings just by simply including a link to your hotel site in my Instagram stories, or like even as a link in my bio. Like these are things that are worth bringing up. And I put down here that Curiosity is a platform that you can definitely, I recommend that all of you look into. It is a great site for landing more hotel partnerships. They are literally like the middleman between the influencer and the hotel, and they help. It's kind of like, I don't know if you want to say affiliate, but like they basically help you make income from your from staying at hotels. So really cool. Look into Curiosity. Not sponsored, by the way. um, and then the final part is, okay, but how do I really make one trip completely something that I don't have to come out of pocket for and I'm getting paid on top of it? So, okay, completely something that you don't have to come out of pocket for, a press trip, obviously. And don't feel like only tours and boards do press trips, because this is another misconception. Hotels do, tour operators do, airlines do press trips too. But the overall key to getting paid to travel is by accepting multiple brand partnerships. Brands love it. When I say love it, I mean love it when you shoot their content and vacation destinations. Like that sunscreen brand will love to see you putting on their sunscreen in Bora Bora. Trust me. And they will pay you for it. So one thing I will say though is you don't want to leave a bad taste in the brand's mouth if you're like promoting another brand while you're there. You'll be surprised though, a lot of brands are like completely fine with you doing it, but as long as you ask up front, don't tell them like, "Hey, I'm bringing a brand and I'm going to be shooting content for them." By the way, no, like ask them, say like, "Is it okay if I shoot content for like the sunscreen brand like while I'm at your hotel?" Um, and most of them will just say yeah because like you're being honest and you're upfront about it, and most of them will say yeah, but like could you not post about them until like you leave our hotel, like like could you just post about our hotel while you're here and just like post about them when you leave. So um yeah, I just recommend being upfront and being honest with them, especially if it's like a press trip and like meaning like there's an itinerary. We want you to post about these things at this time on this day that we're doing it. And then all of a sudden you just come out of the blue with like your sunscreen brand and they're like, wait, what? So just let the press trip post know. Well, ask them. Is it okay if I bring like my sunscreen brand with the on this trip with us and I create content around it? And they'll likely say, yeah, sure, why not? But again, ask them. And another option when it comes to just like stacking revenue on these trips is bringing other brands along. So I think it's like so genius for you to say you're pitching for a trip, you land a partnership with a hotel, you land a partnership with like a tour operator, and you land a partnership with a rental car company. And I put here the example of traveling through Puerto Rico. So you land a partnership with a hotel. Let's go back through it. You land a partnership with a hotel, a rental car company, so you can go to different parts of the island, and then like a tour operator that is in the rainforest, for example. And you also bring along a sunglass brand and a swimwear brand. I recommend of course like negotiating pay partnerships within all five brands if you can. You'll likely sometimes get a little bit pushback with the travel brands, but not all the time. So, definitely go for it if you can. But likely with the product-based brands, you won't get as much pushback because as I mentioned, they just love to see their products in other destinations. So I highly recommend having the more experiential brand partnerships, so that hotel, that tourism board, not the tourism board, the rental car company and the rainforest tour operator, letting those be partnerships that you create content for on your social media platform, and then just letting that sunglass brand and that swimwear brand be partnerships that you just create UGC content for, so that way you don't have to create and post all this content on your own social media platform. Your audience just feels like you're just like literally just like throwing a bunch of sponsor stuff at them. Like you want to have, of course, your organic content throughout. So like a great way to go about it would be, negotiating a little bit of UGC over here and like negotiating a little bit of actual social media content over there, so that you can get the best of both worlds and ultimately turn one trip into a free trip and a paid trip. So that is my advice on stacking revenue. So we have made it through all three parts and would love to know if you have any questions. I'm going to take a look at the chat and see how things are going. What about DMCs? Do you ever host influencers or bloggers? They're not usually as forward facing as tourism board, but they overlap somewhat. Yeah, that's a good question. I noticed that they tend to work with the tourism board. So that, as you mentioned, like that is the overlap. They work with the tourism board. Yeah, if your question is like, should I reach out to them or should I just go to the tourism board? Reach out to both. Like you'll be surprised. Like some of the DMCs. I feel like you if you're referring to DMOs too, but a lot of them may have budget too. So again, like something that I noticed that a lot of people do is they think, oh my gosh, this tourism board didn't have budget, so like the next one's not. Like no, like you will be surprised on like the amount of tourism boards that do have budget and like the ones that just don't. Like you, like all the partnerships are different, so I just recommend, you never know, so why not pitch to them and see. What else? Would you recommend pitching when you have a small following? Oh, how would you recommend pitching when you have a small following? I recommend um really letting the brand know the value of your small following. Because with a lot of small creators, yeah, you may have like 1,000 followers or like 2,000 followers or whatever you identify as small, but like I guarantee you that your engagement rate is probably like 10% plus, which is like absolutely incredible. Like industry standard for like an engagement rate is 1%. Like we're over here partnering with creators with 1% and you have like a 10%. Come on now. So I recommend flexing your engagement rate. Another thing that you can do is, instead of partnering with the brand as a social, as an influencer, so like creating content on your Instagram, you can partner with them as a UGC creator. Like just create content for them to use on their social media platform. And in the meantime, you can be building your following up. So those are two ways that I would recommend going about that. How often can hotel collaborations get paid? I found it's usually free stay for a couple nights. I asked, but they have no budget. I found pay hard are rare. Not all the time. So I actually witnessed a paid hotel partnership earlier this year, and the reason why we partnered with that creator is because, again, like going back to the audience, like her audience was like literally perfect for us. Like we were really trying to target that kind of audience. I will say she did have a larger audience. Like I'll be transparent about that, but the larger audience that she did have is what we were looking for. Another thing is that she was willing to be a little bit flexible with us. So she was willing to say like, hey, like I don't mind, paying for my flight, or like, you know, doing my own pitching when it comes to like securing a flight partner. If you guys could just give me the free stay on top of like payment or something like that. So I wouldn't say that like all hotel partnerships are rare. Another way that I will say that you can go about this is you can pitch to like the hotels that you go on their Instagram and you're just like, what the heck? Like this is like, it looks like Instagram in like 2012. Like they have no reels, they have no highlights, they don't have anything. Like I recommend pitching to those hotels and letting them know like, hey, I would love to create your first reel, or like I would love to like revamp your highlights for you, and like just let them know like your social media content creation rates. Um, I have one more thing I want to suggest to you is pitching to hotels that are in your hometown. Those are hotels where you don't even have to stay there. You can literally just go down the street and like create content for them and sell it to them. So that's another way that you can partner with hotels and get paid as well. Do you recommend pitching to a brand and business that is outside of your base area? I do recommend, I wonder if you meant to say how, but I do recommend pitching to brands that are outside of your based area, because it's more opportunity. Why not? But if your question is how, I would recommend just like flexing like your audience. So say if your audience is all based in like South Florida, and like they're like family creators, and you come across like a hotel that is in the mountains of Tennessee, and like literally their entire website just screams family friendly, then you can go back to them and say like, hey, I'm based in like Fort Lauderdale, for example, and Fort Lauderdale has straight flights to whatever destination they're in Tennessee, and also like majority of my audience is filled of family, of like parents. They would love to hear that. Love to hear that, because that is literally like spot on for their target audience. For deliverables, is it better to lean into more robust content on fewer channels, or less content on more channels, or will it depend on the brand? More content on fewer channels or less content on more channels? That's a great one. I feel like, as you mentioned, of course, it would depend on the brand, and think about it, like if it were a brand that caters more to like a younger audience, then like it would make sense to create content that's like on TikTok and Instagram, for an example. Like it would make sense to create content on Facebook, and even sometimes YouTube. Like they say YouTube is more so for like the millennials and up. So as far as like choosing what channels, I would like take that into consideration. Like, okay, what is this social media platform um more likely to attract, and what is this hotel's or this travel brand's audience more so more so about, if that makes sense. So, but overall, say if you're just asking, all right, overall, I just want like a straight answer. I would say less content. No, I would say more content on fewer channels.
All right, thank you so much. That is about it for the time that we have for Q&A. Thank you so much, Tinsley, for joining us. I do want to let everyone know that Tinsley is offering 3 follow-up workshops within our wonderful creator member hub. She has one on how to create a media kit, how to land long-term travel partnerships, and how to get invited on press trips. We are very excited to host Tinsley within our creator network, and I'm going to drop in the chat. If you aren't a creator member yet, I'm going to drop in the chat if you'd like to start your free trial now, but I'd hope to see you there. And thank you so much, Tinsley, for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Can't wait to see you inside the creator community.
Drop this in the chat. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.